In recent years, the simulation theory, the idea that our reality might be an artificial construct, has gone from fringe hypothesis to a serious topic of discussion among scientists, philosophers, and technologists. It's been championed by thinkers like Nick Bostrom and Elon Musk, debated in scientific journals, and even used as plot fodder for blockbuster films. But now, a new wave of evidence is emerging, and it's darker, stranger, and more convincing than ever. If the simulation theory once seemed like science fiction, it's beginning to feel like science fact. And worse, it might not be as benevolent as we hoped. Let's start with the glitches. Across social media, people continue to document bizarre, often unexplainable events that defy logic. Birds freezing midair. People witnessing duplicated strangers in the same clothes performing the same actions. Objects disappearing and reappearing in places they were never left. These aren't just anecdotes anymore. They're being compiled, cross-referenced, and in some cases, recorded on camera. Individually they could be dismissed as coincidence or faulty memory, but collectively, they suggest something far stranger is happening, perhaps signs of a system under strain. Then there's quantum physics. At the subatomic level, reality behaves in ways that seem to make no sense, unless it's being rendered on demand. The infamous double-slit experiment showed that particles change behavior depending on whether they're being observed. This suggests that the very act of observation affects reality, something that sounds a lot like how video games render environments only when the player looks at them. If our universe is a simulation, this observer effect might not be a quirk of physics, it might be a core design feature. Time itself is also acting weird. People around the world have experienced what's known as the Mandela effect, a phenomenon where large groups of people remember events or facts differently than how they appear in official history. Was it Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears? Did Nelson Mandela die in prison in the 1980s or live until 2013? These memory shifts could be collective psychological errors. Or they could be artifacts of a system update, data inconsistencies left behind after a version rollback. What's even more unnerving is that advances in technology are starting to mimic the very reality we're questioning. With artificial intelligence generating lifelike images, voices, and personalities, the lines between real and simulated have never been blurrier. Virtual reality environments are becoming so immersive that distinguishing between the real world and a digital one is increasingly difficult. If we can already create near-real simulations on our own hardware, what's stopping a higher intelligence from doing the same on a universe-wide scale? Cosmology throws more fuel on the fire. Our universe is incredibly fine-tuned for life. The odds of physical constants like gravity or the charge of electrons being perfectly aligned for existence are astronomically low. This fine-tuning could be evidence of a design system. In fact, recent studies show that mathematical structures form the backbone of physical laws, something that shouldn't be true unless math is the code running the universe. Even black holes have entered the simulation debate. Some physicists suggest that the event horizon of a black hole may act like a cosmic hard drive, storing information about everything that falls into it. This supports the idea of a holographic universe, where our three-dimensional world is a projection from two-dimensional data. It's not just poetic, it's science that sounds suspiciously like software rendering. Then there are sudden existential shifts in collective thought and culture. The speed at which societal trends, language, and beliefs evolve today feels less like organic growth and more like a recalibration. TikTok trends, mass online behaviors, viral sensations, they don't just feel random, they feel like programming cues. And maybe they are. When so many people are reacting the same way to the same data at the same time, it raises the question, who's writing the script? But perhaps the most damning piece of proof comes not from science or culture, but from philosophy itself. Bostrom's argument remains haunting. If it is possible for civilizations to create realistic simulations, and if they do, then statistically we are more likely to be in one than in the base reality. The odds aren't in our favor. If future civilizations run simulations, and there's no reason to believe they wouldn't, then the number of simulated realities would vastly outnumber the one original. The simulation theory has always carried a sense of existential unease. It suggests that nothing is truly real, that everything we feel and think is being processed elsewhere. But this new evidence doesn't just make it more likely, it makes it worse. Because if we are in a simulation, then something, or someone, is running it. That means there are rules, parameters, and perhaps even a purpose. But what if the purpose isn't noble? What if this isn't a simulation designed for education, enlightenment, or exploration, but one for entertainment, experimentation, or worse. As technology accelerates and science continues to peel back the layers of reality, we may eventually uncover the source code of the cosmos. But until then, we must ask ourselves, if the glitches are growing more frequent, the anomalies more visible, and the math more revealing, what kind of simulation are we really in?